Did you know that currently, right now, as you watch this, that a Sonic the Hedgehog movie is in pre-production? Not like, a straight-to-DVD movie, an actual movie that will no doubt cost millions of real dollars to make. It's currently someone's job to work on a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. This is a real thing. I did not know this until a few days ago. So where is it? When's it coming out? What even is this? Why is it a thing? These are all questions I have myself, and then for some reason, instead of just leaving it and, going off and enjoying a nice piece of toast or something, I spent literally hours researching everything that's been publicly released about this film for reasons I can't quite understand. So anyway, this is an investigation about Paramount's upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog film. Why am I doing this? Suspicions that Sony Pictures were going to bring the blue blur to the big screen can be traced back to as early as December 2013, when the company registered domain names relating to a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. However, neither Sony nor Sega would comment at the time that a project was even in development. Nothing further was heard until March 2014, when industry website The Tracking Board released an exclusive report that the Sonic the Hedgehog movie was not only real, but that it would be receiving, and this is a direct quote from the article, the Dark Knight treatment, with the studio reportedly going for a dark, edgy version of, the cartoon Hedgehog, because this direction has worked really well for the franchise before in the past. In an attempt to achieve this aesthetic, the film would be a mix of live action and animation, allowing the much loved character to really meld with reality. Doesn't that sound like fun? No, is the answer to that, it doesn't. It was also confirmed that the film would be produced by Neil Moritz, known for overseeing projects such as 22 Jump Street and the Fast and the Furious franchise, and Toby Asher, whose only credits currently include being a producer on the Sonic project and the recently re-announced Sleeping Dogs adaptation, which, could be alright. Yeah, that one might be alright. At the time, there were a few shortlisted writers for the film being floated around too, with big names such as Brad Bird, who wrote Pixar classics like The Incredibles and Wall-E, Nathan Reese, who wrote Deadpool, and Phil Johnston, who wrote Zootropolis and Wreck-It Ralph. But let's just unpack this madness for a second. Let's just take a minute to gather our thoughts. So everyone's favourite little blue boy is getting a film. Not only that, but it sounds very likely that it will be set in the real world. I'm going to take the guess here and say New York, because why wouldn't it be New York? It will be New York. If the dames are anything to go by, this real-life setting means that anything could happen, from Sonic having a gun to him having a full-on set scene with a human lady. I mean, it probably won't be either of those things. It'll probably just be Bid the Cat and Knuckles wandering around Times Square, and Dr. Robotnik, who will undoubtedly be played by an actual actor like Ben Tinsley, wearing a red jacket and a big old fake moustache, taking over the human world in some way or another. But the sets with the human lady bit, I mean, that's not far off. Sonic will definitely have a human love interest, won't he? I don't doubt that for a second. I mean, it's canonical that he's sampled human flesh and has clearly developed a taste for it, so maybe it'll be Amelia Clark. She's in thins these days, isn't she? Who knows? He'll absolutely have a human sidekick though, won't he? Christ! Anyway, fast forward a few months, and both Sony and Sega confirmed that the project had been greenlit and had entered pre-production. So this was real. It's a real thing that's happening. Van Robichaud? Robichaud? Sorry, I can't see your name. Who wrote the movie Fist Fight, which I've not seen either, I'm not doing very well here, was confirmed to be penning the screenplay, and in a subsequent interview stated that the film wouldn't be set in the very popular Sonic Boom universe and would instead be a completely separate project. He also stated that the team were aiming for a PG-13 rating, so don't worry, we won't be seeing Sonic's ballsack whilst he beds a human lady. Although he could definitely smooch her and maybe say the word shit. I don't know what does that PG-13, what does that mean? Can you say shit in a PG-13 rating? I could doodle it, but I'm not gonna. I can't be asked. Then everything went quiet for nearly 2 years until a report by website Deadline, published in October of 2016, reconfirmed that the film would be a hybrid CG animated / live action family film, which would imply that the studio dropped the reportedly dark, gritty aesthetic, but live action, that's still there. They're still fully wedded to that idea. Bid the Cat buying a burger in Times Square. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a scene. It's gonna happen. Tim Miller was also announced as being an executive producer for the project after stepping down as director of Deadpool 2 due to creative differences. Now, what kind of creative differences makes a man decide to be closely linked to a Sonic the Hedgehog film? Something really Really awful. That's large differences to have made that jump. Patrick Tacey and John Miller, the writers behind the animated TV show Dolan the Insatiable, were announced as now being in charge of the script, and Jeff Fowler, who had previously worked with Miller at Blur Studios, which is the company behind all those really good theme trailers that everyone remembers from about 6 years ago, would be directing. So I mean, that's a pretty solid bunch of people who are working on this film. You know, the film about Nuttles in New York, who at one point will probably dote across a street, nearly they're hit by a taxi and shout, "Hey, I'm walking here," because that's a thing that will happen. It's gonna happen. Prepare yourself for that bit. And then nothing at all again until very recently when Sony put the project into turnaround, which I've just learned is, according to Wikipedia, an arrangement in the film industry whereby the production costs of a project which one studio has developed are declared a loss on the company's tax return, thereby preventing the studio from exploiting the property any further. The rights can then be sold to another studio in exchange for the cost of development plus interest. So there you go, we've both learned something today. Anyway, the rights were snapped up quickly by Paramount Pictures, along with everyone who was working on the project whilst it was being funded by Sony. So here we are, nearly 4 years on from the film's original announcement, and everything still seems to be in the very early planning stages. It's still seemingly set to be released in 2019, but that's it. We don't know what the plot is, we don't even know who's being considered for the cast, who will voice Sonic, who will be his twerty female sidekick slash probable love interest. Will this ever come out? I honestly have no idea. Probably not, to be honest. There are a lot of video game adaptations that just sit in development limbo for years before the studio finally just pulls the plug on them. I mean, remember Peter Jackson's Halo film? Or the Metal Gear Solid adaptation? But then again, after the success of films like Wreck-It Ralph, which, you know, Sonic was in, and with the recent announcement that the Minions studio Illumination Entertainment are bringing Mario to the big screen, it would make sense that Sega would push to have their aging, irrelevant mascot have his big screen debut at the same time. Perhaps more news will be revealed at this year's South by Southwest, where Sega have a Sonic the Hedgehog panel. According to the official website, this panel will give Sega the opportunity to present a world-exclusive first look at what comes next for the fastest blue hedgehog. That probably means games though. Probably nothing to do with any of this nonsense. And, you know, who knows, maybe this will be good, like Assassin's Creed or Warcraft or Silent Hill. Oh fuck, remember Ratchet and Clank? I forgot that even came out. God, that was no good at all, was it? Christ alive. So there we have it, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming 2019. Maybe a family-friendly adventure that combines CGI with live-action footage. It will 100% be set in New York. It's gonna have Danny DeVito with a big mustache fighting a CGI hedgehog voiced by Ben Stiller. Oh, hold on. I've just talked myself into it. Yeah, I'm on board now. Yeah, I'm excited.